Katie, aka K Dub, aka I was thinking of like K Whoosh or something like that, or just Quish.
I like it. It
Anyway,
feels right.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting into a weird zone.
Quish.
I always ask people like a weird question to start off, just for fun. Probably it's youth group trauma for icebreakers, but
Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. And I had one,
Relatable.
but I'm going to ask you, what is your go-to, like guilty pleasure fast food meal, like a shame-free fast food meal when you're like,
Oh
this
yeah.
is what I want when I'm alone and I don't care about anything else.
I mean,
And is it McDonald's? No.
yeah. Do you know what? That was my first thought.
Yeah.
I was like, do I tell him that it's a 20 piece from McDonald's with a Coke, or do I tell him that it's a Chick-fil-A tender? That one's a little bit more classy,
Yeah.
but I feel like I have to be honest here. And so I'm going to go with the 20 piece nugget from McDonald's every time. After my husband proposed, we went straight to like a proposal party.
Sure.
And so we never actually went to the dinner plans that, I thought were the dinner plans.
Right.
And so afterwards we are starving. It's midnight and we just pulled through McDonald's and ate nuggets.
Yeah.
Freshly engaged. It was like the best night ever.
I love that. That's like, something I didn't know about like marriage and relationships. I was one of those guys that like, I wouldn't eat on dates or anything like that. I was nervous, because like I love food, but like I can chow down and you don't want to chow down on a date. Right. And so I would never do that. And I think like being married is one of my favorite things about being married is like my wife will also, and any people know this is like part of the going against my assumption was that everybody likes to eat, and like once you're comfortable, you can just eat with them. So we're very into the guilty pleasure
That's
food.
awesome.
So I love that. A 20 piece ain't that bad though. I was expecting like something like obnoxious, but that's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
I feel like it's very basic. It's very elemental, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah. McDonald's for me is like I'll do the Big Mac meal. And so I'm like, okay, I've got a meal, I've got fries and a drink. But then I started this really terrible habit that I need to stop doing, just for my life, where I would get like an additional sandwich.
Smash it all together.
Yeah. Well, no. None of the McDouble vibes, but like I'll just get another sandwich because I was extra hungry, or like the Big Mac was beef and I was like, oh, I got to get a chicken too. It was obnoxious, man. Yeah. We need some therapy in here.
That's amazing. No shame. I know we do.
But it tastes great. So
it's great.
So yeah, I kind of heard about you through the photographer grapevine, if you will, after you shot Trevor Lawrence's wedding, which I thought was super cool. So for people who don't know, Trevor Lawrence is the #1 draft pick, went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is football. If anybody who's really out of touch, I totally get that. We all are, artists and creatives and stuff like that. So I saw that, and then sometimes it's like the celebrity like wedding photography thing, I've only done like maybe like 3 or 4 that you're allowed to show. But when you are able to show, it's kind of cool. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. Like we get to see somebody that is, moderately famous and now going to be more famous, and just see them be a normal person, right? Like see it. I think he's like 21, 23, like be a normal, young, like tall, good looking human dude and just like whatever. Yep. So, but before we get to that, the juice that everybody wants to talk about, let's hear about Katie Dub. I'm mixing it up now.
I like it. I'll answer to that. That's cool.
I want to hear.
It makes me feel cooler than I am. So let's go with Katie Dub.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. You're so cool. I've been following for like 6 weeks now. Like I know. I know that you're cool.
That's
Can
great.
confirm. But tell me a little bit about your story. Like where are you from? How long have you been a photographer? Are you full time? What's your and be nitty gritty with me. Like don't feel weird or shame or anything like that. But I really like to know, like, how many weddings do you like to do a year? Like what's your goal, or what's, outside of the last year's weirdness?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a bio. I don't even know where to start. Like born and raised, grew up in a Christian home. No, I'm from the upstate. So I'm from Greenville and South Carolina.
Okay, yeah. People are like upstate. You're like, oh, New York.
I
like,
know.
No.
Where are you based in? I don't know this.
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were like Washington State or Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're not like too far. But South Carolina, was born in Florida, moved to South Carolina, like middle school. And let's see. My dad actually gave me all of his old camera gear in high school.
Okay.
And so I was a part of the yearbook team, got really into taking pictures, doing sports pictures on Friday night football games and club portraits and just like a little bit of everything, and really enjoyed photography. That's kind of where it first started for me. And then I came to USC, go Cox, and I studied journalism. My major was visual communications in the School of Journalism. And so it was a newer major at the time. I liked it because it was like a little bit of everything. So you could do a little bit of graphic design, a little bit of video, a little bit of photo. I kind of didn't know where I wanted to end up, but
I was going to say that's what my degree is in too, is visual communications.
No way!
Yeah, but instead of journalism, it was like digital media, so even more like an emphasis on that kind of stuff and no journalism skills. Like we wrote a press release once, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm doing 0 things journalistic, but that's okay. Learned a lot. I feel like actually a lot of my like documentary style might come from that, subconsciously. But ended up picking up an art photo minor in my junior year. And then at this point, I was doing a lot of like graduation shoots for my friends on the horseshoe and, the cap, throwing the cap, in the air pictures and all those things. And I really liked it. I liked being with people and like hosting people. And then I also liked the more introverted part where you go home and edit for days. So I liked both. And so I was like, this is cool. I ended up getting an internship at a local studio. I learned so much there. It was mostly commercial. And then they did a little bit of weddings here and there, but mostly commercial and like billboards and stuff like that. And so learned a lot there. And then by the time I was graduating, I had enough people asking me to do pictures. This is in 2018. Yeah. To where I was kind of like, do I keep this job at the studio and sign a non-compete, or do I try to, do this on my own? Yeah. And my boss was great. I remember like crying there at lunch one day, and he was like, you just got to go do your thing. I was like, I know, I'm scared.
That's awesome.
And so that was my last day. He was like, give me, the key, let's do it. Go, do your thing. And so that was 3 years ago, and I've been full time ever since. I remember having one wedding booked and like 2 grad sessions booked when I quit my job. And I was like, what am I doing? Like literally what am I doing? And I was raised very entrepreneurial, very do what you want to do while you're young. If you're going to mess it up, now's the time to do it. You can always, you can always call mom and dad, and, if you need help or whatever, now's the time to mess up, which I'm really like grateful for and thankful for, because I know that's not super common. And so I had a lot of encouragement and like support going into it. And I remember that year, just like, I'm living alone. I'm like paying my bills. I have one wedding booked, and I'm like, all right, Lord, what, either like I'm insane or you're going to like provide for me, and this is going to be great. Yeah. And I remember I'm a Christian. Can I talk about God on here?
You can talk about anything you want, girl.
All right. Awesome. I'm like, also I love God. Yeah. So I just remember the Lord being like very specific, like, you're just gonna like care for the clients that you have. And then whenever that client is done and their pictures are sent, there's going to be another one waiting for you. Yeah. And so I just kind of had that mentality of like, just kind of put your blinders on, and like whoever I'm serving now, take their pictures well, host them, edit their pictures well, and I'm going to be taken care of. And I was.
That's awesome.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, that's like so I went to Bible college, so I have a little bit of a Christian background, but
I didn't know that. That's
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. If you're, it's called the University of Valley Forge now, but it used to be called Valley Forge Christian College. It's in Pennsylvania.
Cool.
Very, very small, strict school. Like, we could talk about this after, but
I was raised Catholic, so I probably feel you.
Okay. Yeah. Or if you're curious this weekend, this is like very bold, but there's an episode I did with this lady named Max McQueen, and it starts out as kind of like her talking about this like situation with some celebrity photographers she worked for, but then it's probably a longest episode, and it devolves into like faith and politics and this kind of stuff, and how we both like have shifted. It's like, have you heard of deconstruction?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's probably like we're in that journey at different places. So
I feel like we all are.
Yeah. Well, that's
everyone's
how it should
like,
be.
what? Why even? What is this?
Yeah.
Who's God? Why am I here?
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's okay to remodel the house,
Absolutely.
Every once in a while. But so yeah, I totally get that. But I was gonna say like that principle there is just like stewardship. Like if you can't handle the 3 clients and serve them well in the way that you want
100%.
to do it well, or like the parable of the talents, and be like, hey, you got one. How well do you do with it or whatever?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any, so I'm just like stewarding nothing right now, but it's okay. Okay, so that's cool. So you're relatively new to, wedding photography, I feel like, or at least being full time. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it like a new thing.
No, not offended at all. Yeah, this spring is 3 years. So
that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. What's been you're married, right?
Yes, I'm married.
When did you guys get married?
We got married right before the world shut down, so we got lucky. We got married November of 2019.
Okay. So what was life like in that 2018 to, we'll call it the beginning of 2020, your first few months of marriage, like, what was that like growing your business and, like, you're in charge of everything financially, right? Like you ain't got that extra, the spouse's help. And I mean, some people, like my wife was a social worker and a teacher, so she's not exactly slinging the dough. But what was that process like? What were some fears you had, or what were some ways to kind of stay afloat and do the right thing during that time?
You're talking about like with the pandemic or before that?
Before you got married, but between the time you were full time and got married.
Yeah. I was busy. I don't know. I had I had been doing senior sessions for a few years throughout college. And so that I kind of like pack ratted that because, our job's incredibly seasonal.
Yeah.
And so I just remember saving everything from that summer because I just didn't know what it was going to look like. And then I found out that when you book weddings the next year, they give you a deposit and you're like, okay, this is helpful. Okay. I also lived, I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and I had a house with some roommates. And so our overhead was just super low. I mean, we just we didn't need much, Yeah. And so, I never like financially, I never really struggled. I mean, there were times where it was like, all right, this is, in the beginning, it was like, how is this, going to happen?
Sure.
And it just did. I don't like God. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's really no other explanation. Was that your question? Were you asking that through like a financial lens or?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to see, for people who are like starting out and none of this is necessarily true, but when I say to photographers like, hey, going full time is not super as hard as you think it is. It's not as easy as you think it is, but it's not as hard as you think it is. Yeah. And they always go, but you're married. And I always go, I was not married when I started my business.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I live in Washington, D.C., the only city in the country during 2008 to raise property prices. Like it's expensive to live here,
Yeah. I was going to say too, like, I think it's a mental thing. Like I knew graduating college that this wasn't like the hobby that supplemented, this other job. It was like, no, I'm getting an LLC. I am a photographer. I might have one wedding, but like, this is what I'm doing. And so I think, changing some of my social medias to be like, hey, Katie at the time, Luritz photography, like, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more maybe established quicker. And so I guess people were more apt to be like, oh, well, she's full time. Like she'll have time to do this, 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 and this instead of, Katie's doing this thing on the side. Maybe it'll work out. And so I think me taking that first step and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing because this is what I want to do instead of waiting for clients to be like, I need you to be full time for me. I think that like really sped up the process, to be honest. And then taking, my work and putting it where I could from a place of advertising, like, hey, this is what I'm doing instead of this is a hobby. Like, I hope it's good. Like, I hope people like it.
Yeah.
I think that just lands differently, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you actually advertise, like pay money to advertise, or do you just mean like putting it out there and try to putting it in different spots?
Yeah, I did a few paid ads like on Instagram.
Okay.
I'll never forget I called it headshot happy hour. And from like 5 to 7, I like rented out this all-purpose room with big windows at this apartment complex, and I made all of my friends come. I was like, can you just come? You don't have to pay. I just needed like people to like be here. And then a few random people, caught the ad and came, and I was like, oh my gosh, hey, like we're doing this. So yeah, if anybody's listening and was there, it was so cringe. Oh
Shout
my
out to
gosh.
the OGs.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, and it is wild to like think back about it. But yeah, it really grew quickly. Like it just kind of snowballed that year. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
So there's something blessed for that.
I've been exploring and thinking about, and like my mindset versus other photographers' mindsets. I'm like dabbling in the education world, right? Like podcast, and we put out some free workshops and stuff in our Facebook group and stuff like that. Usually about like how to get more leads, right? And then like how to book them, SEO, like kind of some stuff that, at least for me, I've realized like some people just want to hear like a very down to earth version of it. So I'm like, okay, here's mine of what that looks like. But there's something about like this. And I heard this and went, oh, okay. I instantly chose a side. And this isn't like what you said was wrong or anything like that. But there are photographers who I've met that are like, as much effort as we would put into everything else, they put into Facebook ads. So not even just like, hey, I'm going to run a little campaign, or hey, I'm going to try something, like, which I think is totally fine to do. Like, I think is super cool and part of any real business. Like if you told somebody like, hey, I'm advertising, but my photographer community thinks it's weird. No, not at all. Like we love that. I think where a lot of photographers get lost is like they hear, oh, wow, you can get 50,000 impressions, but they don't know what they're doing. So they'll just pay $500. But I'm like, man, if you just spend some time actually engaging on Instagram, or like, writing a freaking blog post, you lazy. No. And so, but I heard this thing and it said, it was like the difference between marketing and advertising. And it was like, and it really hit me. And I was like, oh yeah, like I want to market. I want to be attractive. I want like people to come to me, and not in like a prideful way, but I want them to be like, yeah, we need what you got to offer, son. And like, come to our wedding. And I think, versus like going and trying out to get there, or trying to get them. And so I love that. Like you're just putting the work in and you like set up for success. You're like, hey, I'm ready. I'm full time. Like, let's go. And, were there any gigs you took that like maybe didn't make the gram, that you're like, oh crap, I got to pay rent this month, or anything like that, or something you wouldn't take now?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, in the beginning, you kind of just take, whatever you can get. But I feel like I had enough like friends, and I was at an age where people were graduating, getting married, babies. Like I was kind of around, and the church that I was at the time, it was like pretty big.
Okay.
And so I feel like I had a lot of connections to where, I like knew a lot of the people that, it wasn't like, I moved to a new city and I didn't know anybody. And so I needed to make a Facebook ad to be like, hi, I exist. You know what I mean? Totally. So that was really helpful. In the beginning. And, I mean, that has been my business still, is just predominantly word of mouth and connections. Dude. And I've come to find that I like that. Kind of like what you were saying, like if you throw out an advertisement, like you don't know who's going to see that, and you don't know if, you would like vibe or whatever. Not that that's, the end goal, but like,
oh, it is the goal, Katie. That's okay.
You know what it is. You want to be able to vibe with your clients for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of just kind of having more of a marketing strategy, and like, hey, this is just who I am. This is what I do. Let's work together. And so,
no, totally. I think that's something I'm learning is like, I think that's achievable for everybody. It takes more work, right? And it takes like, I think probably some extrovert skills, social networking, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, I would rather, like, that's the ideal, right? Is getting to work with people you like and making enough to pay your rent and even maybe a little extra. And then like one level below that is like still getting to do photography, but maybe it's not with clients you vibe with. And you're like, okay, like I still get to take photos, And then like the level below that is, not doing photography, or whatever. So I feel like that's peak level. People underestimate being connected. Like I feel like 2020 was like a break for everybody, but like, when I moved to DC, and even before DC, like your college group, your church group, your kickball team, your whatever. Also too, there are local business networking groups, like BNI, Rising Tide, all this, even the Chamber of Commerce, like people, all you got to do is just be the name that somebody says when they're like, I need a photographer. You know anybody? I'm sure Katie knows somebody, like even if you don't do headshots or like, construction photography or something like that, like they're going to know you and you get to be the expert. But people always like, they underestimate that stuff. But I'm like, it's free. It's free to go talk to somebody or like get in front of their faces or like
it's
show
important.
Show up to the awkward, local market or whatever. I don't know. I'm preaching here, but
no, it's good. I'm with you. I'm so with you. Yeah, it's great.
I'm trying to think. I had this gig when I first started, and I was like, the past like 3 years I've stopped doing this, but everything I shot, I blogged. Every single
that's impressive, honestly.
I had no idea. Like
that you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, well, and my heroes did that, and their take was like, well, yeah, like everything I shoot is like consistently this thing, and so that's but in reality, like it wasn't necessarily always as consistent as they'd like to say it was. And I didn't know about like niching down or whatever and being like, hey, I'm an expert at this kind of wedding and this is what I love to do and these are the kinds of people I want to attract. Like I was just like, I shoot weddings, son. Like I'll shoot anything. And all that to say, one of my jobs I remember taking for the cash, if you will, I did time lapse for fun. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like the House of Cards intro or anything like that. But I would do like time lapse photography for fun. And some like flooring company reached out to me and they're like, hey, will you take a time lapse of a floor drying for us?
No.
So literally,
gonna watch paint dry for a day.
Yeah, like clear paint drying. Wow. But I think it was like I didn't know, and so I like charged them what I thought I should charge. And some people will be like, this is great. This is like 2014, maybe 2013. It was like $1,200. So for a day,
take it.
And just a camera on a tripod. That's all we had to do. Like, set your exposure.
Ate lunch, hung out.
I had to put it together after, which takes some computer power. But it was so funny and so random. And it was an easy gig. They just looked at you like you were the expert. They're like, all right, son, like whatever you need, like let us know if we're in the way. And you're like, let me know if I'm in the way. Like this.
But no, that's so true. It's like that whole concept where if you just have a lanyard and a camera, you can walk into literally any event at any point ever. Yeah. But we're like, I just feel like a child. I'm like, no, am I supposed to be? I don't know. You tell me. No, that's such a true thing that no one ever taught, because no one really teaches this job like what we do. You just kind of jump in and you're like, help. And it's so true. I remember like shooting one of my first weddings and like that ceremony time, you're like, where am I supposed to be? I can't be in the way, but I can't not see what's happening. And you're like sweating. And I was having a chat with one of my friends, Hallie and Jacob, they're a video team, Recollective Films, but I was talking to them and we were shooting a wedding together and he was like, you just got to commit. Like people aren't looking at you, but you got to get in there and then you got to get out. You just get in, then you get out. I'm like, okay, you're right. This is good. We can do this. Everything's fine. But yeah, it's such a true thing. It's a weird job.
I love that. What's funny, I like especially this year, I feel like all of our second shooters are booked. So you're trying out new people or whatever. Or if you like do a destination and you need a second, you're like, oh, I'll try somebody from that area or whatever. And you work with some seconds where I'm very much like a this is the wrong phrase, but on wedding days, this is what I think about. So don't judge me for the phrase, everybody listening.
I'm not going to judge you.
Well, what I think is when I want to get up close and get a photo and then get out of there, I'm like, Adam, you need to hit it and quit it. Like you need to go get the shot. And then like if I could somersault without ripping my pants, I'd somersault out of there and just be like, didn't see me.
That's it. Yeah.
Like a ninja or something. But, like I've seen other photographers who they're in the outfield, man. They're like 70 to 200 at 200 and they just sit in the back and they're like, snap, different style, right? Very different style. Like, I think, it's just, it's really funny, but I'm definitely like a, and I'm not as pretty as you. So I'm a 300-pound bearded man. Like people are always like, "Oh, I didn't see you." I'm like, "How did you not see me? Like, come on. Like, what are you talking about?"
You did.
Yeah, like you definitely saw me. So, but I still, you got to send it. Like, you're a professional. You got to do what you got to do. Like, nobody would judge the catering people if they like brought them a glass of wine or something, or like,
right.
So
yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, come in there, hit it, quit it, and get out of there.
That's it.
Yeah, go.
That should be a whole course that you used to sell.
April Fools next year, guys. Adam and Katie's Hit It and Quit It course in the Inappropriate Photographer Education Network.
Oh man,
that's hilarious. I love it.
Honestly, yeah,
that's so funny. So tell me, how did the Trevor Lawrence thing come about? Have you already shot something that big before, and then you became the person, or is this your first thing that was this big?
Yeah, this was definitely the first, big thing. I had worked with. So I've got some mutual friends with Marissa.
Yeah,
and we a few years ago took pictures like for fun pictures, best friend pics of my friend Mackenzie and her friend Marissa.
Okay.
And so we had a blast, got to meet them, and then did a few shoots here and there. Anytime that we would find something on Instagram that looked cool, we'd be like, hey, let's do it. Yeah. And so they were kind of like my guinea pigs for things that I wanted to try. And we did like a fun New Year's Eve shoot with like streamers and disco balls. And I was like, do you want to do it? And they're like, we're down. And so, they're just an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me, or they were at the time.
Yeah.
And so, I've been good friends with Mackenzie for a while. And so I met Marissa through Mackenzie. We'd worked together, and then, I saw that they got engaged, and I was like, oh, congrats. It's awesome. And a few weeks later, or a few months later, I can't remember. I just get this long text from Marissa. She's like, hey, I trust you. I want you to do this wedding. Like, she said something. She's the kindest human being. She's like, would it be like worth your time? I'm like, are you kidding me? 100%. So we like hopped on the phone. We like talked through some details, and she booked me. So
that's cool.
It was a big honor for sure, because I mean, I knew, and I'd met Trevor a few times. Like they're truly wonderful people, the most down to earth people. And when she asked me that, I was like, this, like, obviously I knew it would get a lot of attention, and and she wanted that for me too. She was like, I know that this would be good for you and good for us. And she's like, I've loved working with you before, and let's do it. So it was a really, really big honor. And then it was also just a normal wedding with people, getting married, doing their thing. And it was a really sweet day. So
that's awesome.
That's kind of how that happened. But
I love that. That's like, that'll preach right there. That's the story, is like you did all these free shoots with these two ladies, or just friends, like making stuff and just experimenting or whatever. And like, they got to see you in action. They got to have your trust. Like, my favorite referral is usually from a bridesmaid or a guest who was at a wedding I shot. And they're like, I saw how you were on the dance floor. And they were like, we think you were cool, which is, there was no dance moves or anything, but like having somebody who can vouch for you in that way. And then they're like, well, of course it's going to be Katie. Like, or of course we want Adam. Like, that's, people don't understand that, even photographers. And I'm like, no, like that's what you want to do. And I don't know. I think that's cool that like, you met through doing like free photo shoots, and and then had like a real relationship, like a friendship or whatever, right? Like an actual friendship. And then like, she was like, hey, it's K-Dub time. Yeah. So she's like, you're my number one draft pick. No. There's so many fun there. I love
That's
that.
Good. That's good. I love it.
Like
but yeah.
What is and so what's that been like for you, for people who don't know that kind of mindset? Like I literally just had a similar situation happen where I shot a brother's wedding for a like famous comedian.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so that was super cool. Instagram blows up a little bit. We probably got like 1,000 followers or 500 followers or 1,000 followers in like a weekend or something like that. But like for you, what did that look like? Did you get a bunch of leads in as well? Did you also grow in Instagram? Are people, booking you because of this situation? Are other NFL players? What's that look like?
Yeah. All the above. And
you don't have to share names, of course, but just kind of
you're good.
Share some behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah. So I came back to my desk on Monday morning and had maybe like 65 wedding inquiries. And I was like, okay, I guess. And it's so funny because I had just told my husband like a year ago, I was like, I think I kind of want to like ease out of the wedding industry, like just take a few, not as many weddings, because I was doing like 30 a year. The first I have been doing right at 30 a year.
Totally.
I was like, 15 sounds like good.
Yeah.
And because I love it, but I would get really tired and I would really overdo it. And so, I'm saying all that, and then we shoot their wedding and have all these inquiries. And so I guess I'm going to raise my prices because I can't like, kind of be everywhere all at once I would just not be human. So that was new. That's like been a new obstacle, and it's crazy to even talk about it because I feel like I just started this thing and I'm still like, I'm just,
doing the best with what
taking
you can.
pictures.
Yeah.
So it's sweet. It's like a really big honor. And I feel like now, like those clients that are coming in from the Lawrence wedding, it's just a big honor. So had a lot of inquiries and booking out a little bit further. I did.
Good.
And I felt so bad too. I'm like, I'm sorry.
No,
you can't not.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing, but
it's not weird at all. Your time became more valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. You have more experience with, sensitivities to famous kind of people, right? Yeah. So if you get any inquiries that are like that, they want to be able to trust you in that aspect. Also, the photos from the wedding were good. It wasn't like, oh, she shot some celebrity wedding and you're like, okay. Like you see some celebrity weddings and you're like, what? I don't even care. But not like you post different stuff from that wedding all the time. Trevor's just a cool looking human being.
He's so cool, man. And he just really is. Yeah, just a cool guy.
7'27".
We took a group picture and I'm like literally like in his armpit. I look like a midget. It's so funny. It's one of my favorite pictures.
I love that. You know, and so it's like you I'm just letting you know, you can play this clip back to yourself, but like you deserve all of that. Like, no. Like,
thanks, Adam. Appreciate that.
Everybody listening should raise their rates. Like, if you don't know how, email me.
I can die on this. Yeah. Yes.
Because it's
I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even, so you get 65 leads, right? And let's just say that you only book 10% conversion rate of those 65. That's 6.5 weddings. Like, that's a big chunk to be able to book in that week. And I assume because of the social capital, like, if you were available for more, like, you probably have a 20% conversion rate. So that's 21 weddings from 12 weddings, 13 weddings. You're almost at 15.
I'm not judging you. It's good.
You're almost at 15. Yeah, I take pictures for a living. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not Pythagorean theorems. No. And so, like that is, people don't realize that, but it's like, okay, you're almost 2 away from your 15. And, people always overcomplicate this. I'm like, if Katie charges $10K a wedding and does 15, $150K in revenue right there, maybe she spends $35K on overhead, and now she makes $115,000 salary in South Carolina. You're welcome, everybody. Like that's it.
Close one.
Like that's it. 15 weddings, and you're done, and you're just playing with your dogs. Yeah,
it is. It is wild though. I mean, even before this wedding, I was starting to get into like mentoring photographers, and I remember sitting across from one of them and I was like, well, how much are you charging for a mini session? She's like, $50. I'm like, $50. She's like, yeah, I mean, I'm just starting. And what's interesting is, as I started to raise my prices, as I was growing organically, I saw a correlation with people trusting me and people not trusting me. Yeah. And so when I tell someone like, hey, this is the number, this is the price of what I'm offering you. Yeah. I'm inherently saying, this is what I'm valuing, what I can do for you. Yeah. And so when people, it's just, it changes things. It really does. And so when people are paying a higher price for something that's more valuable, they're like, I trust them. They're the expert. Yeah. And then you don't have, the Bridezillas or the Momzillas or whatever, not trusting you, which is really important on a wedding day. And so, it's a good topic. Yeah. If any photographers are listening to this, you're probably not valuing yourself as a given. If you don't know how to use your camera, different story. But I'm talking to like, totally. If you know what you're doing and you've been doing it for a little while and you've got some practice and you feel good, like, that's so valuable. Yeah. So valuable. Yeah. That's the number one thing I've seen in like doing some mentorship, doing some one-on-one with photographers. It's easier for me to help them if it is like a business issue.
Because like if their work is already good, I'm like, guys, like that's half the battle. Like once your work is at the quality of what somebody wants to pay for or likes, you know, consistent, you know, and you don't have to have like, you know, based on what I saw from your work, like you're not trying to do any off-camera flash stuff. You're not trying to go crazy or whatever. Like you're trying to fit the Katie Wilson style. Same here. I don't do a lot of off-camera flash, anything like that. Like I'm all about my relationship with my couples and like all that kind of stuff. But even if somebody was trying to do really technical stuff, like the goal is you just got to be ready. You got to know what you're doing when you walk into a situation, however you want to do it, right? Like if you know that you're a hit it and quit it ceremony photographer, like
that's awesome.
You need to be ready to hit it and quit it so that you can like execute. But if there are photographers that are already good at that and they're like, yeah, I'm just not sure why I'm not booking. And I'm like, oh, that's my easiest problem to solve. Let's do that, you know? And like, let's start pulling on that string. You know, and yeah, it is, it's, you and I are a testament of this, and that's why I love this episode and wanted to have you on. Is like we're not celebrities, and we, you know, but like you eventually can charge what you want and keep that growing, and like it's at least for me. I heard this from a mentor a long time ago. It's not my work. My work is not worth $10,000. Like my photos are not $10,000 wedding photos, right? They're probably like between 3 and 4K, you know, is like, cause there's no like $10,000 look, you know? But like my relative experience, you know, the client experience, the brand, the involvement, like the preparation, the relationships, the intentionality, all that kind of stuff. It's like, that's why you can charge that much. And it's like, those are all things that people can work on. And usually it's free to work on. They just got to know what it is and like put the work in. So I love that.
Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff.
What is everybody raise your rates, okay? Just make that money.
Can that be the title episode? No.
That's oh my gosh, we'll just clickbait the ish.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Run it back. It'll
just be like raise your rates with Katie Wilson or raising your rates. Because I was gonna have like photographing Trevor Lawrence, right, for the clickbait, but I'm like, no. Like because photographers always want to know, like, how can I raise my rates? I'm like, just change the number on the spreadsheet, son. You know, like
you just literally do it.
Literally,
it's like, how do I be a hat girl? You just put on a hat. You just do it. You just commit.
Listen,
how do I hit and quit it? You just do it. I don't know. You just start for photography purposes.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many.
What do we even do?
I'm avoiding like a bunch of things I want to say but won't say because you know,
we'll just leave it there.
Trying to make this professional.
Yes,
you know, no, I'm kidding. But that's no, I love that. What is were there any things that you think prepared you for something like the Lawrence wedding as a reference, you know, and maybe the wedding was just normal and maybe they didn't ask, like in DC, oftentimes because of politicians and people who are lobbyists or they work for like the CIA or whatever, like those people still get married. And so oftentimes we'll have this kind of like NDA conversation where they'll say like, hey, like, you know, we'll pay more for you to not show anything from the wedding. Like it wants to be a private affair.
Just normal.
Yeah. Lawrence was normal.
No, I was gonna say that is a normal thing. I feel like, and I talked with Marissa about that and she, I guess because we were friends too, she was like, I want you to grow from this too.
Yeah.
And that cool. Trust was established. And so she was like, yeah, absolutely send it. And what was so funny is I remember being on a Zoom call with, it was me, the videographers, Marissa and, the wedding coordinators.
Yeah.
And they were just, you know, asking a bunch of questions. I guess Marissa wasn't there. It was just the team. Yeah. And I remember them just being like, they're so chill. Like they didn't hire security. So like, I think we're going to hire it for them because they need it, but they just have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just such humble people. And so the wedding day just felt very, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, that's what.
What was your question though? I feel like I just didn't even. I feel like I just blacked out. What was the question?
Yeah.
How do you do a podcast?
Yeah. For something like that, for a situation like that wedding, and maybe it wasn't that one, but like, had you had other weddings where you had to kind of be delicate or sensitive about what photos you shared or anything like that, or were there anything that like prepared you to be awesome at this wedding?
Yeah, we just talked through the day in detail, Marissa and I, a lot, and something that came up was she wanted to do a first look, but she wanted it to be private and just for them.
Yeah.
And then as we got, which I was like, I love that. Like, yes, do it.
Yeah.
as we got closer, she was like, Katie, I think I want pictures of it. I think I just don't want that to be in the gallery that goes out to, magazines and Indochino and Grace Loves Lace or whatever the bridal company.
Okay.
And so, when the preview gallery went out in the morning, I sent it to her first and said, hey, here's the preview gallery. Go ahead and let me know which ones you're just like, I don't want these anywhere. And so we had just a very open and honest conversation, which I was grateful for. Yeah. And so I don't even know what's normal in that situation. Cause again, this was our first time. It's her first time getting married, my first time doing, a larger wedding. And so we were just like texting and voice memoing constantly. We're like, how do we do this? I don't know. Let's just get you married. And so she was like, these are great. I don't like the way I look in this. And so I just took them off and then resent it. And she was like, looks good. And so that's what went out to, those specific brands and the internet. So
that's cool. Being able to know that like what, I'm always a big fan of like knowing, not super deep. I mean, you can, but like knowing what some of your clients' fears are. Right. Mm-hmm. So for Marissa, as we'll use as an example, it's like, all right, I don't like how I look in these photos, so I don't want bad photos of me to be out there. Right. Mm-hmm. Like if there's a photo publicly, I want me to look fresh, want me to look looking awesome, which is totally valid. Like it's your wedding day. Like it's okay to want to look awesome.
100%.
And then, like the first look or whatever, stuff like that. So just for people listening who this might happen to them, right? They're going to get that inquiry, that magic inquiry. And they're like, all right, am I ready? What do I need to know? And so, have that conversation or like what that looks like NDA wise,
open communication with any bride. Like I get all the time brides who want to do a first look and they're like, I just really want it to be private. And like what they're saying is like, please push my parents out of the window. I'm like, I got you. So like that stuff matters to talk through. Because it really like makes or breaks like the vibe on a wedding day.
No, totally. So. Yeah. No, I think that's something we're probably like 90% first look out here, at least for our stuff. But I feel like now there's an extra emphasis on the private first look where couples are like, we want something just for us, right? Like they're already planning a wedding for them, which I think is shifting versus like parents planning a wedding. And then like now they're like, okay, we need something that's just ours. And like even my best friends can't be there. And it's good too, because you're not trying to put any pressure on the peoples, if they're going to cry or feel weird, like you don't want to cry in front of your people. So, at least not too many times. So I know my wife and I, we had a private first look and like I bawled my eyes out. So,
we did not. We actually, and I see it a lot here too. I'm probably half and half with first looks and no first looks. But we didn't do a first look. And I mean, my husband we just bawled the whole ceremony. It was hilarious, which was really on brand for us though. So it was fine. But if you know my husband,
that's awesome. That's all. Hey, I support crying dudes. So that's that's all good. Well, it's like
we love emotions here.
Yeah. People don't, I think a lot of people, I talk to clients about this, so we're getting off topic for photographers, but in, like I have a little wedding magazine that I send out to clients or whatever when they book or whatever. And, I talk heavily about first looks and I say like, you don't have to do them, but this is some advantages. And it's like, if you don't do a first look, sometimes the guy can feel like there's a lot of pressure on him to react a certain way, but then his coping mechanism is to just hold it all back. And then like if the bride is putting that on him, like, oh, I hope he cries, like, and it could be all this weird social pressure, right? There's an element in wedding that's like underlying, but it's like keeping up with the Joneses, and I have to be really on guard with that and like make sure that I just punch that in the face as much as I can.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For my couples, but so the first look, it's like, hey, like just have it be you guys or whatever. And, they're just going to be focused on you or vice versa, even for ladies or whatever, or same sex couples. And then I think people though are like scared if we do a first look, are we going to have a reaction at the ceremony? And obviously photographers know this, like they'll cry both times. Okay. Yes. If they cry at the first look, they'll cry again. If they're emotional people, externally, it'll show either way. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's, I love that people are doing kind of more what they want to do, whatever that looks like. And I think that's helping release a lot of the pressure to, do something a certain way and, do it that's Pinterest way. And I was talking to my friend Caitlin, who's recently engaged, and she was like, do we elope? Do we have a big wedding? I don't want to regret not having a party. So I think we're going to elope. And I was like, do you know what? You won't regret anything because it was your wedding day. It was your freaking wedding day.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to look back and be like, should have thrown the bouquet. Like you're like, we're married. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. And so I love seeing, people feel that way and just enjoy being married. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if this is happening down there yet, but at least for me, and this is in cities, I feel like in bigger cities, like DC is known, like if you Google DC wedding photography, it's like very whitewashed, light and airy, like, Barbie and Ken, blonde lady and a dude in a tux, like, and it's great. Like, people love that stuff. It's totally fine. And then that's not really my vibe. And then I attract couples that's not really their vibe, so much so that, like, ironically, I've been trying to grow, right, as a photographer, professionally, as a business, like we submit, every wedding, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And like, I had three client calls last night, and one of the brides was like, hey, just FYI, like, you don't have to take any photos of my shoes or anything like that. And
like, I love you so much.
Yeah. And I was like, listen, like, heart wise, I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, job wise, I'm like, I'm actually going to take some photos of them because this is going to get featured, and they will not feature me without this stuff. It's like,
right.
The groom is a chef. And so I was told him, I was like,
oh, so cool.
We're going to make a good meal, but sadly people expect some garnish, or something like that. So, yeah.
And your photos are so fun too. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah. That's my goal. And like, it's, I want people to have photos that like look and feel like them if they didn't have shame, or if they didn't think about like the things they didn't like about themselves or whatever. Yeah. And like,
you definitely like provide that just from outside looking in. I was on your page just a few weeks ago, and really fun.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, at least for me, and I feel like other clients can relate, like being a big guy, being obese or whatever, I don't exactly like how I look in every photo. Not everybody doesn't, not everybody likes that, but but I was like, what would it look like for me to be comfortable in my own skin and have photos of me having that like freedom, all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
sweet.
I want other couples to have that too, even if it's just for a day. I'm like, hey, tomorrow you can care about your left shoulder's bigger than the other one or whatever. Like, of course, your brides tell you everything. I'm like, I did not need to know that. Like, don't worry. But so I said shoulder instead of something else. But
that's awesome.
That's the example that popped in my head. But yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I think that's super important. Let me ask you one other fun kind of thing. Get a little saucy. Is you being kind of newer, but I think like established and professional and great. Like, I think there's no timeline, right? There's people who have been shooting for 10 years that are not as put together as you are, and there's people who have been in business.
I received that.
Yeah, there's people who have been full time.
Did you watch the beginning of this episode? Because
listen,
just kidding.
Listen, making Zoom look this good is tough.
Hey, it's great. Yeah, it's true. True.
We've actually had two mics. One mic got stolen, and then one mic she shipped it back USPS instead of FedEx. So it's just lost somewhere.
Yeah,
in America.
That ain't ever coming back.
It's never coming back. So I got two extras behind me. I'm like, whatever.
Man.
But you being where you're at and working hard, stewarding it well, trying to do your best, and now you see like the big exponential growth points. In your career now, because hopefully this Lawrence wedding brings another wedding similar like that, and that's like it's like you have a bonfire and somebody brings like that extra big piece of wood and they're like, oh yeah, this one's gonna really get it. It's like, I already had a fire going, but this is gonna help make it even bigger fire.
For sure.
What do you see? Is there anything in the photography industry that you actually like don't like or don't resonate with? And that can be literally anything, or something that you feel like you wish was different, or that kind of thing.
All right, let's think.
And this can be just Katie's opinion. Like, don't feel weird.
No, I don't feel weird. I'm thinking. Let's see. I think I don't even know how to word this, but thinking about, growing, and I think there is like a really unhealthy culture that is just in the creative industry, to no one's fault, just kind of is what it is. But I think that there is this like, I'm like trying to go about this the right way. Our work is so tethered to who we are because it's creativity and it comes from us, which is why we love what we do. It's a beautiful thing. It's like, I created this piece of art. This came from me. Like, I'm in this and it's exciting. There's a really unhealthy side to that kind of dictates your health based off of the health of your business. And so something that I have really been enjoying is like in the best way possible, untethering the two. And so a lot of times, this used to look like me posting a lot every day with the desire to have it blow up, or like, with the desire to have attention of like, wow, Katie's the best. Yeah. And what's interesting is like, so I obviously didn't want to do that. That wasn't healthy for like my life. It wasn't stable. That wasn't, that's not who I am. And so this is why I love the Lord, is because he says, this is who you are. This is who I say that you are, period. Like, this is why you're valuable. You're valuable because you're mine, not because you're an incredible photographer. And so untethering the two, looks like I might still post similarly and book jobs. Like, I might be doing the same task, but my heart is not this like craving desire to be, celebrated or the best of the best. It's like, I actually just really want to love and serve these people. And I love what I do too. And so it works out really well, but like that's not why I wake up in the morning. And so taking time to myself, like, I love music. I love worship. It's something that I used to do for people, and now I really do it for myself. And so like pulling away to have an hour of my lunch break to just like reset and not even think about photography, just like, who am I? Where does my confidence come from? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And it's because I'm safe. Like, I really am safe. There's nothing to go get. I'm provided for. The Lord's proven it to me before in my life. And so you take something like this Lawrence wedding and like, it's so fun and it's exciting, but like, there's no pressure on it, like they're my friends and I'm excited for them. And if something comes from it, like, awesome, but I'm not riding on that. And I think that there are a lot of photographers who don't know that you can untether the two and still be successful and like still enjoy what you want to do. I think I said that the way that I wanted to say it.
It sounded amazing.
It's such an intense thing to talk about because there's no, it's not any one person. It's just the community that is just the default, honestly. But I feel really lucky in the South. Like, the community here is wonderful. Like, I have so many photographer friends, so many. That's and cool. I feel like starting out, I didn't feel that way. It felt very like competitive and like this weird, like, oh, where'd you shoot that? I'm not going to tell you. It's like, well, okay, why?
Oh yeah.
And so that's like leaving, at least in Colombia. And I'm like super excited about it. But yeah, I think when you can shut me up at any point, I could literally talk about this all day, but I feel like, send it. I don't know, when I know that I'm provided for and I'm safe, whatever avenue, that is, it's, for me, it's the Lord. I feel safe and provided by him, then I don't have to have a tight grip on things like, how do you shoot a ceremony, or like, where did you take those pictures, or like, hey, what are your prices and how do you do that? In regards to other photographers and all right, I'm gonna stop there, but that's how I feel.
I love it. That was not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but like, that's such a good word. I think like for you to know that even at this stage of your business is like, I wish I knew that early. Like and it's hard because it's like, you don't want to tell people that like you shouldn't be good at your job, or you shouldn't want to make stuff that makes you happy photo wise, but it's like your identity and who you are is not attached to what you do or what value you can provide, And
like, I think that's been a narrative for a while, but then it comes out in like a carelessness. It comes out in like a, I'll just take a few pictures, not really plan. I just won't take myself so seriously. It's like, no, you can like really like take a job so seriously and still be like, so not this, your identity,
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, I think it's yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about. Like, do a great job. Like, definitely always send it. Full send.
Always send it. Full send it.
And it's like, I think though, I love that. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's this happened to me like 3 or 4 years ago where I had some mentorship. I had some like transformational mentorship with a person that really helped me, and also had some life stuff going on, right? Some deconstruction, all this kind of stuff. Like, who am I? What impact do I want my business to have in the world? Does it align with me? What do I want to do in the world? And how does my job help facilitate that, right? Like we talked about, like that, eliminating fear and eliminating shame, on wedding day, and like helping people be who they are and feeling 100% valued without the extra stuff, and like that kind of attitude. And so I'm like, okay, like I want my business to represent that. That's totally fine. It's cool to have it in there, but it's like, like I only recently hit 10K on Instagram.
I saw.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's so exciting.
So it's like a big deal, but I've been grinding for a long time, and it's but people, a lot of photographers, they don't talk about this. Like they talk about how to grow, and I'm like, guys, like there are times when I was so frustrated, and I was like, because I only had, and this is the truth, is like it'll never be enough. But it's like I had 4,900 followers, and be like, ugh, but it's not 5K,
Yeah,
or
it never ends.
It's not 7K, it's not 8K, and you're chasing these like superficial things, and like I am competitive. Like I'm not like I want my competitors to quit because of how awesome I am. That's what I want. Like, obviously, I'm very like community oriented. Like, I love to help people, but like, I don't have an actual person. But I think about competition in general, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want people to be like, I can't even be in the same city as Adam because he's so great. Like, like that's what I want in a business mindset. But like, I had some transformational stuff happen in my life, and I realized that I didn't want to shoot and create work for photographers. When we post a photo, like most of my stuff is not super technical. 1.4, probably some shade, probably holding basic hands, hands or looking at each other, belly button to belly button, nipple to nipple. Like I'm very basic, on everything. And I'm just like, there's a couple that loves each other and probably hopefully doesn't have any shame right now. And very basic stuff. And in the photo world though, it can feel like a competition where we have to have like every photo is a mic drop. We're like, oh, here's a flex. Here's a flex.
Yeah.
And you keep chasing that, and it's like there's always somebody better than you. Always.
Yeah.
And so now that I don't shoot for photographers, I'm like, oh,
free.
I actually don't care.
Job.
Yeah. Like I can get weird, get funky. Like
that's
I don't
awesome.
have to use off-camera flash for this thing, just because like it's like a weird dichotomy, because I'm definitely lumped in with the like the mag mod crew of people. I
don't even know what that is. So bad.
No. So it's like, it's a magnetic flash attachment that like basically revolutionized the photo industry. Because before it was very difficult to do that kind of stuff. And so we have very similar, like colorful, dynamic, a lot of silhouettes, whatever. And I love that. I love that crowd. I love color.
Yeah.
Like it's great. But I probably take the most boring photos in the entire industry of that side of the corner, So, and two, business wise, it's like, man, we're getting really nitty gritty here. One of my goals in DC is to have a different look and a different aesthetic. And I'm a guy. Like in DC, the top 5 wedding photographers are all ladies, deservedly, because they're better and prettier and more elegant than we are. When we're diving into like flat lays, I'm like, let's just put the shoes in the toilet, and they're like, no, Adam, don't do that.
You're like, okay, weird.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
that's
they,
really
like there's an element where, trying to think of the best way to say this is like, I want to have a luxury client experience like they offer, but having the work of photographers who maybe actually only care about the work and not about the client experience because they're artists, right? And so I'm in that weird spot, and it's been working out though. It's been great because I get to make work with like luxury level kind of stuff. My pricing is very happier than ever. Average booking rate is up. Everything is up. Good. But it's like, I'm usually the black sheep on a vendor list now. That's what's happening. So you have like 3 light and airy photographers, and they're like, they've been featured in Martha Stewart, featured in Brides, all this kind of stuff. And then it's like, me.
That's awesome.
They're like, here's Adam's stuff if you like color or something different or something kind of edgier.
Yeah.
Which must have not even that edgy, but like for DC, it's very edgy. People are like, oh, this is crazy,
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
And what's cool too is like your clients, well, I was going to say could probably, but I know that they do feel a difference.
Oh, 100%.
With you shooting for them and instead of for, a grid post, like you're shooting for them to feel their best. And because of what you went through and because of your growth and healing, like that's just what you naturally will impart to the people that you're around. And so your work's going to look different. The vibe's going to be different. And so that's that's a huge testimony to everything we've been talking about. That's
you'll probably be one of the few people that listen to this podcast that get this, but you'll get this. You know who Bob Goff is?
Okay. Yeah, love Bob Goff.
Okay. I want to be a mix of like Bob Goff and DJ Khaled in the wedding industry.
Why is that your aesthetic? Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
Like I want to encourage the crap out of people. I want to like help cut through the BS in a non-mean way and like just love the crap out of people. And DJ Bob Goff. Oh my gosh.
DJ Bob. Do you know what? Did you ever read any of his books?
I read Love Does, and then the second one.
Did you call him at the end?
Oh yeah, we've texted. Yeah, I met him at like a conference or something like that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I called him and he answered, and I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm taking a really hard college class. I don't know. I was like so nervous. He was the jolliest man. But yeah, you definitely are a mix between those two.
That's the goal. That's the
incredible.
Goal right. And then just to turn the DJ Khaled on and be like, you are special. You're valuable. You have a purpose,
That's amazing.
So you're beautiful. Okay.
You should really put that on your website somewhere.
Listen, we're working on it slowly but surely. We're making it
rebrand.
Yeah. We just got we finally paid the money to have like professional copy done.
Oh, nice.
Which like nobody ever does, right? DIY forever. Like, and I would still tell 99% of my like mentees, other photographers, like, but I was like, I wanted to at least try it. Like I could always flip it back. And you get to the point where you're like, okay, like, would I spend one wedding's worth of money to do this? And like years in the past, I would never do this. And why I signed up to do this during a pandemic, I have no idea. But
it's awesome.
I was like, I wanted to try it. And it actually is really, it's been really, really cool to kind of like have somebody take you on like the brand avatar, or like ideal client kind of journey. And then like writing copy that is like, not dictated by the box on your website. When you're like, oh, there's a box here, I got to put something in it, and just be like, Katie Wilson loves sunsets, coffees, Jesus, and dogs, baby. Let's get together.
Man.
Like, what do we actually write there? And but it's been really fascinating and really cool. So it's like
that's awesome.
It's almost on the site, so I'm excited to see like.
Keep me updated. I want to see it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll show you. Right? But it's pretty cool now. Like everything on there now is what I've written, which I feel like I like it, of course. But it'll be a little bit more salesy, but not too salesy. Like, I just never talk about photography. Like on my site, I never like didn't even say the word photos. Like, there's a whole paragraph about like what it means to eliminate fear from your life and why,
if someone stumbled on your page, they would literally call you and be like, can I book a counseling session? Where do I sign up?
Oh yeah. I've made plenty of brides cry. I've cried with many of them,
That's
like,
awesome.
listen, we're two in the same, like we'll take Pepto-Bismol together cause we're nervous before a wedding. And then we will cry together, during beautiful times. So,
I love it.
All right, let's get out of here. Stop talking about me. Katie, where can people go to find out more about you and talk with you? And then do you have anything cool else happening up this year that you can talk about that you're excited for, or just pumped to have like hot girl summer in South Carolina?
It's hot here. You can go to my website, hellokatiewilson.com. Shoot me a message, say hey. I think there's a say hey option. If not, I'll make one. But yeah, you can find me there. Find me on Instagram at Hello Katie Wilson. anything exciting. I'm traveling a lot this year.
Okay.
So we're going to Montana next week for fun.
I was going to say for fun or for weddings.
I know.
But...
Photographers can travel for fun and not for work. Weird.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, yeah, it is for fun. And then a lot of the other ones are for work. I'll be in Virginia. I'll be in Boston.
Okay.
So yeah, just a lot of traveling. Some exciting weddings for next year for sure.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy, but we'll just see.
That's awesome.
You know?
I love it. And your IG is at Hello Katie Wilson too, right?
Yes, it is.
With just one L for Wilson.
Just one L for Wilson. Yeah. Well, when my name changed, there was a million Katie Wilson. So I was like, I guess we got to add something in here.
I love the hello though. Like it's I go back and forth like every photographer. I'm like, oh, should I be Katie Wilson Photography or should I just be Katie Wilson? You know, and like I've gone through that for years. And on the times when I'm like, oh, I just want Adam Mason. Some person who doesn't use their Instagram account anymore has that username.
It's the worst.
Got like 137 followers. I'm like, dang it.
Yes.
Like, I will give you money.
The worst.
You know, like,
I'm in the process of doing that right now. I guess I can kind of say this on here if anyone's listening this far.
Yeah, you don't have to say amounts or people you've emailed, but you know, whatever you're into.
Do a little nugget of, thanks for listening to the song. But I'm opening up a studio in Columbia. And so we are trying to, like, we're locking in names now. And I've got one, but the one that I really want, I'm like blowing this guy's phone up. I'm like, let me give you money. Please read these. I'm like, how do I call Instagram? How do you call Instagram and ask them for something?
Let's just talk about it for people who are still listening, just for fun. Like, are you, does this person, so you're talking to them on Instagram, trying to get the handle? Okay.
Yeah.
Are they active? Like it's a real person, or does it seem like it's a desert?
They haven't posted since like 2016. So just I'm just shooting messages to a black hole. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Have you tried looking up that handle on other social media platforms? Like, do they have a Twitter with the same handle or something like that?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Okay. Because like sometimes people, they like adopted a social handle and then they left it somewhere, but they still use it somewhere else, right? Like you use Hello Katie Wilson everywhere or something like that. So maybe it's their Facebook URL or whatever.
So maybe I can find them that way.
Or even like the handle @gmail.com. Like it doesn't cost you nothing to try.
Yeah.
So that'd be like, I went through some of that, you know, and again, it still might end up empty. But, but I love it. Awesome. Sweet. Well, Katie, thank you for coming on, and let it come back on when you have the studio, and any fun things, you're welcome back on anytime, and we can always chat and just, you know, maybe we'll do like an Instagram live about like some kind of educational topic or something fun. Like,
let's do it.
I just want to jam out with people. Like I want to, in the photography education world, it feels like there's 5 people. And you're like, okay, yeah, those 5 people are great. Like, we like those 5 people, but what about like other people? And so I just want to like collab with other people, and it'll be really fun. So awesome.
Let me know anytime. Thanks for having me. This has been so fun. Great to officially meet you too.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for checking out The Bearded Hog. It really means a lot. If you can, leave a like on the video. If you want to see more videos, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications on when new videos come out immediately. Have a wonderful day, guys, and keep being awesome.